Chapter 1. Jasmine, let's get a divorce. Jordan stood at the doorway, his military uniform crisp and straight, his face as solemn as if he were heading into battle. I was darning his army socks, and upon hearing this, my hands froze mid-stitch. Not out of shock, but because I had long known this day would come. Reborn into the year 1975, carrying the memories of my previous life, I knew exactly what he was going to say today. Why? I kept my head lowered, sewing calmly, my voice so steady it frightened even myself. Melissa, she needs a title. Jordan's voice tightened. She's pregnant. The needle pricked my finger, and a drop of blood blossomed on the white sock like a crimson flower. In my previous life, when I heard those words, I cried myself half dead, clinging to his leg on my knees, begging him not to leave. Back then, I didn't know this was nothing but an act he and Melissa staged. Melissa was never pregnant, she only wanted the identity of being a military officer's wife so she could be transferred to a provincial hospital, and I, that foolish woman, actually divorced him and even handed over the marital house to them. Less than half a year after the divorce, Melissa miscarried and then smoothly got her transfer, leaving Jordan drowning in regret. By then, I had already remarried and refused to look back at him ever again. Jasmine, say something, Jordan urged impatiently when I stayed silent. Slowly, I raised my head, gazing at the man who had once driven me to love him so desperately. Under the brim of his military cap, his face was sharply defined, his eyes deep, indeed, a handsome man. Unfortunately, beneath that striking exterior hid a heart devoid of loyalty. Fine. I smiled faintly. But I have one condition. Jordan froze, clearly not expecting me to agree so readily. According to their script, I was supposed to cry, to resist, so he could put on a show of deep love and helplessness. What condition? He asked cautiously. The house stays with me. And your salary for this month as well. I stood, brushing stray threads from my apron. Also, the divorce papers must clearly state that it was you, Jordan, who initiated the divorce. It has nothing to do with me. You. Jordan's expression darkened. Jasmine Lynn, how can you be like this? How? I tilted my head. You're the one asking for a divorce, not me. I'm just a woman, I still need a place to live, don't I? But Melissa is pregnant. She needs a home even more. Then rent one, I replied, gathering my sewing basket. Or go live with her family. Jordan's face flushed red. Jasmine, don't push it too far. The one pushing it is you. I gave a cold laugh. Showing up in the middle of the night demanding a divorce and expecting me to leave with nothing, Regimental Commander Jordan, do you think I'm a fool? The truth was, in my past life, I really had been a fool. For love, I gave up my stable teaching job in the county and followed him to this remote military district. For 3 years of marriage, I cared for his every need, managed all the relationships within the military compound flawlessly. Half of his promotion from deputy company commander to regimental commander was thanks to me. Yet in the end, he threw me aside without hesitation for a mere nurse. Jasmine, I know you hate me, but I don't hate you, I cut him off. I just think that if we're to part ways, it should be done cleanly. Jordan fell silent for a long time before finally nodding. Fine, the house is yours. But the salary. The salary too, I insisted firmly. Think about it, you're suddenly springing a divorce on me. I need to find work again, don't I deserve some living expenses? But Melissa and I need money to live as well. That's not my concern. I turned toward the kitchen. You two are young and educated. Supporting yourselves shouldn't be difficult. In the kitchen, a pot of ginseng chicken soup simmered, the very tonic I had prepared especially for him. Now it seemed far more fitting for me to drink it myself. Behind me came Jordan's heavy footsteps and the sound of the door closing. I knew he was going to discuss it with Melissa. Lifting the soup bowl, I sipped the rich broth slowly, feeling a lightness I hadn't known in years. In my previous life, I had shed far too many tears for him. In this one, I would not waste even a single drop. Outside, the moonlight bathed the plain trees of the military compound, casting mottled shadows. Tomorrow, I would begin charting a new course for my life. this time, I would live for myself. Hashtag Chapter 2. The next morning, I heard Melissa's voice calling for Jordan. From the next room came the sound of a woman sobbing and a man's words of comfort, such a tender scene to behold. I stirred the porridge in the kitchen slowly, my mood calm as still water. Jordan, how can she be so unreasonable? Melissa's voice was soft and delicate, yet through the thin wall I could hear it perfectly. She wants the house, she wants the salary, she doesn't consider our difficulties at all. Melissa, don't cry. Jordan's voice carried a hint of helplessness. I'll think of another way. But Jordan, the baby in my belly can't wait, Melissa sobbed harder. If we still can't be together openly, I really don't know what to do. Her acting was as flawless as ever. In my previous life, I had been completely fooled by her pitiful appearance, thinking she was truly a kind and innocent girl. It wasn't until much later that I discovered, ever since graduating from nursing school, she had been looking for a military officer boyfriend. She had dated 3 men in succession, breaking up each time because their ranks weren't high enough. Jordan was her 4th target, and the one with the highest rank. To reel in this big fish, she had put in considerable effort. First, she arranged accidental encounters at the hospital, then she volunteered to take care of Jordan when he was ill. And finally, when I went home to visit my parents, she slipped into his bed. The entire plan was executed flawlessly. The only hiccup was that Jordan refused to abandon his wife for her, so she fabricated a pregnancy to force his hand into divorce. Maybe I should go talk to Jasmine myself, Melissa suddenly suggested. Perhaps if I personally apologize, she might soften. No, Jordan's voice was urgent. In your condition, you can't handle any emotional stress. But Jordan. I deliberately made a loud noise as I carried my bowl of porridge out of the kitchen. The next room immediately fell silent. Moments later, the sound of a door opening and footsteps followed. It was clear Melissa had left. I slowly drank my porridge, waiting for Jordan to bring up the previous night's conversation again. Sure enough, less than 10 minutes later, he pushed the door open and entered. Jasmine, let's discuss this again. Jordan sat down at the table, his face a little haggard. The matter of the house is negotiable, but could you ask for a bit less of my salary? Why? I set down the porridge bowl. Is the salary of Regimental Commander Jordan that little? It's not that, he sighed. It's just that Melissa needs nutrition now, and the medical expenses aren't small either. Oh. I nodded. That's all the more reason you should give me your salary. What do you mean? Think about it, I said with a sweet smile. If I don't have money to live on, I'll have no choice but to report it to the organization, right? When the political commissar asks, how will you explain it? That you, for the sake of your mistress, refuse even to provide living expenses for your wife? Jordan's face instantly turned pale. In the army, the most important thing was one's conduct and moral standing. If word spread that he had abandoned his wife, not to mention any promotion, even his current position as regimental commander would be at risk. Jasmine, don't do this, his voice trembled slightly. Let's part peacefully, without making it ugly. I'm not making it ugly. I blinked innocently. You're the one asking for a divorce, I only made a few reasonable requests. But if you demand so much, how are Melissa and I supposed to live? That's not my concern. I rose to clear the bowls and chopsticks. Since you two had the courage to be together, you should also have the courage to bear the consequences. Jordan fell silent for a long time before finally gritting his teeth. Fine, I'll give you half of my salary. All of it. My tone was firm. And it must be this month's salary, not in the future. Jasmine, he finally lost his temper and slammed the table. Don't push your luck. The ones pushing their luck are you two. I looked at him coldly. Jordan, search your heart, how have I treated you these past 3 years? His mouth opened, but no words came out. Indeed, for these 3 years, I had been a flawless wife. Cooking and washing, tending to his needs, handling all kinds of social relations, earning myself an excellent reputation among the officers' families. I've never wronged you, it was you who first betrayed the marriage. My voice remained calm, yet each word cut like a blade. Now you want a divorce. I've agreed, but it must be on my terms. If you don't accept, then we won't divorce. Not divorce? Jordan was stunned. That's right, not divorce. I smiled. I'm in no hurry. I have all the time in the world to wait. As Melissa's belly grows bigger each day, let's see who becomes more anxious. Of course, I knew well that Melissa wasn't pregnant at all. The reason they were so desperate for a divorce was because of a time limit. Melissa had already secured a job at the provincial hospital. She had to transfer within 2 months under the status of a military officer's spouse, or the opportunity would be lost. So no matter what, they would have to agree to my terms. Sure enough, Jordan's expression shifted again and again until finally he nodded. Fine, everything as you say. Inwardly, I was triumphant, though outwardly I kept my composure. Then tomorrow we'll go to the Civil Affairs Bureau and complete the procedures. Tomorrow? So soon? Of course. I looked at him with a faint mocking smile. Didn't you say Melissa is pregnant? The sooner you marry her, the sooner her reputation will be clean. Jordan was speechless and could only nod in agreement. Watching him leave in dejection, my mood was exceptionally bright. In my previous life, I had humbled myself for him for 3 years. In this life, it was finally his turn to pay the price for his own choices. Chapter 3. On the way to the Civil Affairs Bureau, Melissa came along as well. She wore a light pink dress, her waist still slim, hardly the figure of a pregnant woman. But in 1975, people's medical knowledge was limited, and with her superb acting skills, she could still deceive others. Jasmine. Melissa approached me on her own, her eyes red. I'm sorry, it's all my fault. It certainly is your fault, I replied coolly, without the slightest courtesy. Clearly not expecting my bluntness, she froze for a moment before continuing. I know you hate me, but Jordan and I are truly in love. Oh. I nodded. And then? I hope you can understand us. After all, feelings can't be forced. I do understand. I smiled. That's why I agreed to the divorce, isn't it? Melissa froze again, the speeches she had prepared were now useless. In her imagination, I should be crying, fighting, and competing with her. While she displayed magnanimity and tolerance, thereby winning more of Jordan's affection. But my reaction was entirely beyond her expectations. Jasmine, do you really not hate me? She probed. Hate you? What for? I glanced at her. You're not someone important. Those words cut deep, and Melissa's face instantly flushed red. She wanted to argue, but couldn't find a valid reason. But I am curious, I continued. What made you choose Jordan? Just because he's a regimental commander? No, Melissa denied quickly. I truly love him. What do you love about him? I asked with interest. His character? Or his looks? Melissa opened her mouth, but no answer came. Because she didn't love Jordan as a person at all, what she loved was his rank and his future. We are truly in love, she could only repeat. Well then, if you're truly in love, live your life together, I patted her shoulder. But let me give you some advice, you'd better be careful with Jordan. What do you mean? If he can abandon me for you, then one day he can abandon you for someone else, I said meaningfully. After all, a man's nature never changes. Melissa's face shifted, clearly unsettled, she had never considered that possibility. Jasmine, don't try to sow discord between us. Sow discord? How so? I blinked innocently. I'm only stating the truth. If a man can betray his first wife, what makes you think you're special? My words pierced Melissa's heart like needles, leaving her speechless. Because deep down, she did harbor that worry, she just didn't want to admit it. Jordan, walking ahead, hadn't heard our conversation, still secretly excited for his so-called freedom. At the Civil Affairs Bureau, the clerk, a middle-aged woman, looked at the three of us with a gossipy expression. When she realized we had come together for a divorce, she spoke up. Comrades, are you sure you want to divorce? Is there no conflict that can't be resolved? There's no conflict, I smiled brightly. He just wants to marry this comrade, so we're agreeing to a divorce. The clerk's expression instantly turned scornful, glaring fiercely at Jordan. In those days, abandoning one's wife and child was considered a grave moral failing. Jordan's face turned crimson, but he didn't dare say a word. So, are you certain? Once the divorce certificate is issued, there's no turning back. We're certain, I nodded. Please hurry, I still have things to do. Though she despised Jordan, the clerk still had to process the paperwork. She brought out the forms for us to fill out and carefully inquired about the division of property. The house goes to the wife, and the husband's salary for this month also goes to the wife. The clerk was surprised. And the husband, you agree to this? Jordan clenched his teeth and nodded. Fine, then we'll write it like that. The clerk recorded it on the form, then raised her head to look at Jordan. Comrade, let me give you a piece of advice. Family responsibility is very important. Don't cast aside your wife so lightly. Her words made Jordan even more humiliated, and Melissa as well uncomfortable. Only I felt cheerful, even chatting with the clerk. You're right, elder sister. A man should have a sense of responsibility. The clerk's attitude toward me warmed noticeably, and the paperwork was processed much faster. Half an hour later, the divorce certificate was complete. I looked it over. It clearly stated the husband, Jordan, initiated the divorce. I was very satisfied. Comrade Jordan, Comrade Melissa, I wish you happiness, I said with a smile, bidding them farewell. And when the time comes, don't forget to invite me to your wedding banquet. With that, I strode away, leaving the two of them staring at each other in silence. Stepping out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I felt lighter all over, as if a heavy shackle had been removed. Freedom felt wonderful. Chapter 4. Back at the military compound, I immediately became the center of attention. Although we had handled the divorce discreetly, word couldn't be kept from spreading. Jasmine, I heard you and Jordan got divorced. Neighbor sister-in-law Wang grasped my hand, her face full of concern. What happened? He found someone new, so we divorced. I spoke calmly, without the slightest attempt to hide it. Sister-in-law Wang's eyes widened. Really? That doesn't sound like Jordan at all. Who can truly know another's heart? I smiled. But it's better this way, the sooner discovered, the sooner freed. But Jasmine, what will you do alone? She asked worriedly. Shall I introduce you to someone? No need for now. I'd like some time alone. That remark spread quickly through the entire compound, and people's opinions of Jordan changed drastically. Once admired for his strong work ability and upright character, he was now considered a heartless man. Especially among the officers' wives, he became an object of scorn. Who would have thought Regimental Commander Jordan was that kind of man, knowing a face but not a heart? That nurse Melissa isn't any better, snaring a married man like that. At least Jasmine has backbone. Anyone else would have been wailing already. These rumors soon reached Jordan's ears, greatly damaging his prestige in the army. The political commissar even summoned him to talk, asking what exactly had happened. Jordan could only grit his teeth and claim incompatible feelings, though the commissar clearly didn't believe him. Comrade Jordan, the commissar said sternly, as an officer, your personal conduct reflects on the army's image. I hope you'll manage your private matters properly and not let them affect your work. It was essentially a warning, and it weighed heavily on Jordan. Melissa wasn't faring any better either. At the hospital, the nurses whispered about her, making her feel ill at ease. Nurse Melissa, I hear you're marrying Regimental Commander Jordan, someone asked deliberately. Yes, congratulations. From nurse to regimental commander's wife in one step. Though the words sounded like congratulations, the sourness and sarcasm in the tone were plain to all. Melissa could only respond with forced composure, though inside she was far from happy. She had expected a respectable life after marrying Jordan. Instead, she was burdened with constant gossip. Worse still, Jordan's attitude toward her had changed. Once tender and attentive, he now seemed distracted, sometimes even snapping at her without reason. Jordan, what's wrong? Melissa asked cautiously. Did I do something wrong? No. His tone was cold. I'm just tired. Let me massage your shoulders then. She tried to show her wifely care. No need. Jordan pushed her hand away. I just want to be alone. Melissa felt a wave of disappointment and unease. She began to suspect Jordan was regretting things, that he might even be longing to win back his ex-wife. The suspicion gnawed at her, leaving her sleepless, though she didn't dare ask him outright. As for me, life was peaceful and leisurely. Without the burden of caring for a husband, I could finally spend my days as I pleased. Reading, painting, listening to the radio, or chatting with neighbors, life was fulfilling. Most importantly, I began to plan for the future. In 1975, China was undergoing great changes, and many opportunities were on the horizon. I intended to prepare in advance. First was study. I would pick up English and professional knowledge again. Second was work. I had already pulled some strings to return to my old teaching position in the county, and it would soon be settled. Lastly was investment. Though it wasn't yet the time, I had started paying attention to industries with potential. With the lessons of my past life, I was confident this one would be far better. Chapter 5. A month later, Jordan and Melissa got married. The wedding was simple, only a few close colleagues attended, and not a single leader from the military district showed up. In those days, that was a great loss of face. Because by convention, when a regimental-level officer married, the leaders would at least make a symbolic appearance. But under these circumstances, it was clear they wanted no part in it. I heard the news while packing my luggage, preparing to move back to the county. I decided not to sell the house for now. Keeping it meant I could either rent it out or live in it again someday. "Jasmine, are you really leaving?" Sister-in-law Wang was reluctant to see me go. "Isn't living here good enough?" "It's too easy to run into awkward situations here," I said with a smile. "It's freer in the county." "That's true, after all, you see each other every day," Sister-in-law Wang nodded. "But if life outside gets hard, you can always come back." "Thank you, Sister-in-law Wang. I'll remember that." Once everything was packed, I hired a cart to move my belongings. Just as I was about to leave, Jordan appeared. He wore his regular uniform, his face weary, and he looked thinner than he had a month ago. "Jasmine, you're moving." He stood at the doorway, his tone complicated. "Yes, I'm leaving now." I kept packing without looking up at him. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Why should I?" I countered. "We're divorced. Where I go is none of your business." Jordan was silent for a moment, then said, "Jasmine, can we talk?" "There's nothing to talk about." I placed the last piece of clothing into my trunk. "You're a married man now, and I'm a single woman. It's not appropriate for us to be alone together. I know you hate me." "I've already said, I don't hate you." I cut him off. "I just don't see any need for further contact." That hurt Jordan more than hatred ever could, because it meant I had truly let go of him. "Jasmine, we were husband and wife after all." "Former husband and wife," I corrected him. "And it was you who asked for the divorce." Jordan's face darkened, but he had no way to refute it. At that moment, Melissa appeared, wearing her new red wedding coat, her arm linked tightly with Jordan's. "Jordan, here you are." She spotted me packing and looked surprised. "Jasmine, you're moving?" "Yes, back to the county for work." I nodded politely. "Congratulations on your marriage." "Thank you." Melissa forced a smile. "Jasmine, if you have any difficulties outside, you can always come back to us." The words sounded gracious and generous, but I could hear the falseness beneath them. "There won't be any difficulties." I smiled. "I'll live just fine on my own." Melissa's smile stiffened. Clearly, she had hoped I would struggle, so her so-called victory would feel more meaningful. "That's good then." She clung tighter to Jordan's arm. "We'll be very happy together too." "Best wishes to you both," I said sincerely. And I meant it, because I knew their happiness wouldn't last long. Soon enough, Melissa's true nature would reveal itself, and Jordan would pay the price for his choices. The cart driver called out, urging me to leave, and I lifted my final trunk. "Jasmine," Jordan suddenly said, "take care of yourself." I turned back to glance at him, seeing complicated emotions in his eyes. "You too." I nodded, then resolutely walked toward the cart. Behind me, Melissa's voice rang out, "Jordan, let's go home." I didn't look back, because that was no longer my home. The cart slowly rolled out of the military compound, and I watched the familiar buildings fade into the distance without the slightest trace of regret. A new life was beginning, and I was full of anticipation for the future. I had already secured a teaching position in the county. Soon, I would be standing at the podium again, doing the work I loved. And with the memories of my past life, I knew what was to come and could prepare in advance. This time, I would live brilliantly and live free. Chapter 6. After returning to the county, I quickly adapted to my new life. The principal of County No. 1 High School was an old friend of my father's. He knew my situation well and felt sympathy for me. "Jasmine, you've suffered," the principal patted my shoulder. "But perhaps it's for the best, now you can focus entirely on teaching." "Thank you for your support, Principal," I said sincerely. "Don't mention it. We all know your ability. Back then, you were one of our very best teachers." Stepping once again into the classroom and seeing those eager knowledge-hungry faces before me, I felt a sense of satisfaction like never before. This was what I truly loved to do. I taught senior high school English, and in those years, foreign language teachers were scarce. My level was considered quite good. The students enjoyed my classes, not only because I taught from the textbook, but also because I shared knowledge beyond it. "Teacher, why is your English so good?" one student asked curiously. "Because I believe English will be very useful in the future," I answered with a smile. "If you study hard now, you'll definitely need it one day." At the time, few students could imagine that within a few years, English would become a compulsory subject in the college entrance examination. And later, with the reform and opening up, it would grow even more important. But I knew, and that was why I gave such importance to teaching it. Beyond teaching, I also began to study new skills. For example, financial knowledge, because I knew there would be many investment opportunities in the future. For example, legal knowledge, because in a commercial society, this would be crucial. I also started paying attention to international affairs and economic trends. Though information channels were limited, I tried to gather whatever materials I could. My colleagues thought me strange. Why would a woman teacher be interested in such things? "Jasmine, why study all that?" Teacher Lee, who shared my office, asked. "A woman should focus on family and children." "But I don't have a family or children right now," I smiled. "I need something to occupy myself." "Then you should hurry and find a partner, marry, and have children. That's what really matters. No rush. When fate comes, it comes." In truth, I knew clearly in my heart, I had no plans to remarry in the short term. The experience of my previous life had changed my view of marriage. I now preferred to focus on my career first. And with the perspective I had now, ordinary men no longer appealed to me. After experiencing Jordan's betrayal, my standards for men had risen. He would need not only ability but also character. Such men were rare. I would rather remain single than settle. And so life passed in peace, until 3 months later, when I received unexpected news. Melissa had miscarried. The news came in a letter from sister-in-law Wang, who described the events in detail. "Jasmine, you wouldn't believe it, Melissa had a miscarriage. She cried in the hospital as if her heart would break, and Jordan was beside himself with worry. But strangely, some people at the hospital said she had never been pregnant at all. The whole matter has stirred up an uproar." Reading this, I couldn't help but laugh. Melissa had finally exposed herself, and sooner than I had expected. In my previous life, she hadn't miscarried until 6 months after the wedding. This time, it happened 3 months early. Perhaps my calmness had made her anxious, prompting her to rid herself of the lie quickly. But she hadn't realized, exposing the lie now only left her more vulnerable. Indeed, as the letter went on, sister-in-law Wang wrote more details. "Now everyone is talking about it. Some say Melissa was lying from the very start and that Jordan was deceived. Others say she truly was pregnant but too weak, so she lost the child. Either way, rumors are flying through the compound, and Jordan has lost face." I could well imagine Jordan's mood now. He must already be doubting Melissa. If she had never been pregnant, then he had been tricked. He had abandoned his wife for a lie. For a man, especially one as proud as Jordan, such a blow was devastating. Chapter 7. A month later, I received another letter from sister-in-law Wang. This time, the news was even more explosive. Jasmine, you won't believe what happened. Jordan and Melissa had a huge fight. Melissa was beaten so badly her face is black and blue, and now she's demanding a divorce. I frowned. Jordan actually laid hands on a woman? That I hadn't expected. In my previous life, though he had been heartless, he had never shown violent tendencies. I read on to know the whole story. They say Jordan found out Melissa had never been pregnant and that she'd even been seeing other men behind his back. One day, Jordan came home from work and caught Melissa in the house with a male doctor, the two of them embracing. Jordan went mad, he beat the doctor, then turned on Melissa. This development truly surprised me. Melissa had cheated so soon. It seemed she really was a fickle, promiscuous woman, unable to restrain herself even just after marriage. Now Melissa is staying at the hospital, saying she wants to divorce Jordan. Jordan agreed, but demanded she leave with nothing. The quarrel was so fierce that even the political commissar had to step in to mediate. Everyone says it's karma, what they once did to you, they're now doing to each other. After finishing the letter, I let out a long sigh. I did not feel joy at Jordan's misfortune, because in truth, such an outcome benefits no one. If only he had cherished our marriage in the beginning, he wouldn't have ended up like this. But this also proved a truth: sooner or later, everyone pays for their choices. Jordan had abandoned me for Melissa. Now Melissa had abandoned him for someone else. That was cause and effect. A week later, I received an unexpected phone call. It was from Jordan. "Jasmine, it's me," came his hoarse voice over the line. "What is it?" My tone was calm. "I want to see you. There are things I need to say." "I don't think that's necessary." "Please," his voice sounded exhausted. "Just one meeting. I promise I won't bother you afterward." I was silent for a while before agreeing. Not because I still had feelings for him, but out of curiosity. I wanted to see what he had become after all of this. We arranged to meet at a small tea house in the county, quiet and suited for conversation. When I saw Jordan, I nearly didn't recognize him. He had lost much weight, his face haggard, the light in his eyes gone. He looked years older. "Jasmine, thank you for agreeing to see me." He stood, reaching to pull out a chair, but I waved him off and sat down myself. "Go ahead. What do you want?" "I want to apologize." His voice was soft. "I wronged you." "What's the point of saying that now?" I lifted my teacup. "It's all in the past." "I know. But I have to say it." Pain filled his eyes. "Only now do I realize what I've lost." "What you lost was just a free housekeeper," I said coldly. "Now you found another one. There's nothing to regret." "No," Jordan grew agitated. "You weren't just a housekeeper, you were my wife, the best woman in the world. Too bad you realized it too late." I set down my cup. "And I'm not the best woman. Melissa is the perfect one for you." At Melissa's name, Jordan's face twisted. "She lied to me," he ground out. "From start to finish, she deceived me." "And so?" I looked at him evenly. "What are you trying to say?" "I'm trying to say I was wrong." His voice trembled. "If I could do it all again, I would never have left you. But there is no if." I rose from my seat. "Jordan, let the past stay in the past. You have your road, I have mine. From here on, we go our separate ways. Jasmine, please give me another chance." He stood as well, trying to grab my hand. I pulled back quickly. "Impossible." "Why?" "We can start over." "Because I don't love you anymore." I looked at him calmly. "Jordan, do you know what it means when they say spilled water can't be gathered up again? Some things, once lost, never return." My words stabbed into his heart like knives, leaving his face deathly pale. "But Jasmine, we had such beautiful memories. Memories you destroyed with your own hands." I picked up my bag and prepared to leave. "Jordan, take care of yourself." "Jasmine," he shouted behind me. I didn't look back. I walked straight out of the tea house. Outside, the sun shone brightly, but my heart felt complicated. Seeing Jordan like this, I felt no satisfaction, only a faint sadness. If only he had been wiser back then, if only he had resisted temptation, our ending might have been completely different. But there are no ifs in this world. Once lost, it is lost forever. Chapter 8. After returning from the tea house, I quickly put the matter out of my mind. Jordan's pain and regret had nothing to do with me. I had my own life to live. The year 1976 was a special one, with many major events on the horizon. I needed to prepare for it. First was work. My performance at school grew more outstanding. Not only did the students enjoy my classes, the leaders appreciated me as well. "Jasmine, your teaching methods are very innovative," the principal praised me at a meeting. "We should promote your experience." "Thank you, principal. I'll continue to work hard." In truth, my methods weren't all that innovative, I was simply applying experience from my previous life. For example, situational teaching and interactive learning. In my time, those were already well-established techniques. But in 1976, such methods were fresh and new. Beyond teaching at the high school, I also started working part-time at the county's night school, teaching English to adults. Those students were young men and women full of ambition. Their passion for learning moved me deeply. "Teacher, we've heard English will be very important in the future. Is that true?" one asked. "It's true," I replied with certainty. "The more you learn now, the more useful it will be later." I knew well that in just 2 years, English would become a highly sought-after skill. Those who persevered now would reap great benefits later. As life gradually settled into rhythm, I began considering long-term plans. For instance, saving money, because I knew investment opportunities were coming soon. Building connections, I started consciously befriending people with potential. And education, I was preparing for self-study exams to upgrade my degree. Just as I was fully focused on my career, another unexpected piece of news arrived. Melissa had come to the county to find me. "Teacher Lynn, there's a woman outside named Melissa looking for you," the school gatekeeper reported. I was surprised. What could Melissa want with me? At the school gate, I saw a haggard woman. She wore an old coat, faint scars visible on her face, looking utterly downcast. Was this the once glamorous nurse Melissa? "Jasmine." As soon as Melissa saw me, tears spilled down her cheeks. "I finally found you. What do you want from me?" I kept my distance, my tone flat. "I want to apologize." Melissa wept like falling pear blossoms. "It was all my fault, I harmed you, and I harmed Jordan. What's done is done. There's no need to apologize." "No, I must say it." Melissa wiped her tears. "I've come to realize, Jordan has always loved you in his heart. That didn't interest me, but I asked anyway, so what? I want to beg you to return to him." Melissa suddenly knelt down. "Please, save him." Startled, I quickly pulled her up. "What are you doing? Speak properly. Jordan is suffering so much. He drinks every day, his work is falling apart. Only you can save him." "That has nothing to do with me." I pulled free. "His pain is of his own making." "But Jasmine, you were husband and wife for 3 years. That ended the moment he asked for a divorce," I cut her off. "Melissa, don't drag me into this again. But I feel so guilty. If not for me, you two would never have divorced. If not you, it would have been someone else," I said calmly. "A man who truly loves his wife cannot be so easily seduced away." Melissa was struck speechless. "And another thing," I continued, "are you really here for Jordan's sake? Or are you just trying to ease your own guilt?" Her face flushed crimson, but she couldn't refute me. Because I had hit the truth, she had come not out of concern for Jordan, but to relieve her own conscience. "In any case, this ends here." I turned to leave. "I won't be involved in your affairs." "Jasmine," Melissa called after me. "Do you really not love him at all anymore?" I stopped and glanced back at her. "Melissa, love isn't something you can switch on and off at will," I said coolly. "Once someone's heart is broken beyond repair, love dies. And it never revives." With that, I walked back into the school, leaving Melissa standing alone at the gate. I knew she wouldn't give up easily, but my attitude was already clear. The past was the past. I would not look back. Chapter 9. After Melissa left, I thought the matter was over. But unexpectedly, Jordan appeared again. This time he didn't arrange to meet me, he came directly to the school. "Teacher Lin, there's an officer outside looking for you," the gatekeeper reported. I frowned, walked to the window, and glanced out. Sure enough, it was Jordan, standing in uniform at the school gate, drawing a crowd of onlookers. Not wanting to cause too much of a scene at school, I had no choice but to go out and meet him. "What are you doing here?" My tone was far from friendly. "Jasmine, let's talk," there was pleading in Jordan's eyes. "We've already talked. There's nothing more to say. Please, just one last time." Seeing the crowd growing larger, I finally nodded. We walked to a nearby park and found a quiet place to sit. "Melissa came to see you, didn't she?" Jordan spoke first. "Yes," I nodded. "She asked me to return to you." "I didn't tell her to go," Jordan explained quickly. "That was her own idea." "I know." I looked off at the trees in the distance. "But that doesn't matter." "Jasmine, I know I hurt you, but—" "Jordan," I cut him off. "What are you really trying to say?" "I'm saying, let's start over." He turned to face me directly. "I swear, I'll never make the same mistake again." "And what gives you the right to make that promise?" I asked in return. "Can you guarantee you'll never meet another woman prettier than Melissa? Can you guarantee you'll never be tempted again?" Jordan opened his mouth, but no words came. Because he knew he couldn't. "See? Even you don't believe yourself." I stood. "If that's the case, what else is there to discuss?" "But Jasmine, I truly love you." Jordan jumped up as well, his voice intense. "You don't love me. You love the way I treated you." I spoke calmly, analyzing it. "When Melissa treated you well, you thought you loved her. Now that she betrayed you, you think you love me again. In the end, the only one you've ever really loved is yourself." Jordan's face went white, for he knew I was right. "No, that's not. I really—" "Enough. Don't say any more." I waved him off. "Jordan, think about it. Love isn't a child's game, it doesn't start over just because you want it to. Then tell me, what must I do for you to forgive me?" Jordan seized my arm. "I'll do anything. Let me go." I pulled free. "What I wanted was for you not to betray me in the first place. But that's already impossible." "Jasmine." "Enough," my voice rose. "Jordan, stop pestering me. I've already made it clear, we are impossible." The words rang heavy, and the nearby people overheard. Curious eyes turned our way. Jordan's face flushed red, yet still he refused to give up. "I don't believe you feel nothing for me," he said stubbornly. "We shared so many beautiful times. Those times were destroyed by your own hands." My tone turned icy. "Do you know what it means to glue a broken mirror back together? Even if it holds, the cracks remain forever." "But—" "No buts." I turned to leave. "I'll say it one last time, we are impossible. Let go of this hope." Jordan's shout followed me, but I didn't look back. I had done all I could. If he still didn't understand, that was no longer my concern. Back at school, I found my colleagues whispering. Clearly, word of the incident had already spread. "Jasmine, that officer, is he your ex-husband?" Teacher Lee asked curiously. "Yes," I admitted calmly. "He wanted to reconcile, didn't he?" "Yes." "And I refused." "Why?" "He seems to have good conditions." "Conditions don't matter if the character isn't good," I explained simply, then returned to my work. I knew that in this era, many people wouldn't understand my choice. Most women believed that if a man was willing to come back, they should forgive him. But I didn't think that way. To me, dignity was more important than anything. One must never compromise out of loneliness or weakness. And besides, I had confidence in my future. I believed I could live well, without depending on any man. Chapter 10. Half a year passed just like that, and my life gradually settled down. At school, I had already become a backbone teacher, not only taking on key classes but also being responsible for the English teaching and research group. At night school, I had more and more students, and everyone acknowledged my teaching skills. I also started writing some teaching papers, which were published in the county's educational journals. Life was fulfilling and meaningful, and I felt very content. During this time, news about Jordan occasionally reached me. It was said that he indeed went through a period of depression, his work was affected, and he almost got dismissed. Later, with the help of the political commissar, he managed to pull himself together again. However, according to sister-in-law Wang, he never sought a new partner and lived alone in that apartment. Sometimes, people saw him standing by the window, lost in thought, not knowing what was on his mind. As for this news, I just listened and let it pass, never taking it to heart. Everyone has to take responsibility for their own choices, and Jordan was no exception. What surprised me more was the news about Melissa. She actually married that doctor, and it was said she was living quite well. It seemed she really was a very pragmatic woman, one who wouldn't waste her future over so-called feelings. That was good, it at least meant she no longer clung to Jordan. In the spring of 1977, an even greater opportunity came. The college entrance examination was going to be reinstated. This news set the whole society ablaze, and countless young people saw hope to change their fate. As a teacher, I naturally felt happy for my students. But more importantly, I realized this was a huge business opportunity. Soon, countless people would need tutoring, reference books, and all kinds of study materials. And I just happened to be able to provide these needs. I began preparing a tutoring class, specifically offering English lessons for those preparing for the college entrance exam. At the same time, I contacted some publishers to prepare English supplementary materials. With my experience from my previous life, I knew exactly which content was most useful and which methods were most effective. This knowledge, in this era, was simply a gold mine. "Jasmine, what have you been busy with lately?" Teacher Lee asked curiously, seeing me writing every day. "Preparing some teaching materials," I answered without lifting my head. "Teaching materials? For the students? For the teachers too?" I smiled. The college entrance exam is about to return, and everyone needs to improve their level. "You think the reinstatement of the exam is a good thing?" "Of course it's a good thing." I put down my pen and said seriously. "It gives young people a fair chance to compete so they can change their fate through their own efforts." Teacher Lee nodded. "That's true, but the competition will definitely be fierce." "Fierce competition is good. Only then can the truly talented be selected." In my heart, I knew very well that the reinstatement of the exam was not just an educational reform, it was the beginning of a broader societal transformation. From then on, China would step into an entirely new era, where the value of knowledge would be emphasized like never before. And I would seize this opportunity at the very beginning of this era to lay a solid foundation for my future. The preparations for the tutoring class went very smoothly. I rented a classroom in the county's cultural center, planning to officially start in the summer vacation. Once the news spread, people rushed to sign up. Not only were there current high school students, but also many young adults, and even some older people. "Teacher, I'm already 30 years old. Can I still take the college entrance exam?" a middle-aged man asked me. "Of course you can." I encouraged him. "As long as you have determination, age is not a problem." "But my foundation is poor. My English is almost zero." "That's okay, we'll start from the basics." I patted his shoulder. "Believe in yourself, everything is possible." Looking at the eager eyes of these learners, a warm current surged in my heart. This was the power of the times. This was the power of hope. These people were willing to put in every effort to change their fate, and this spirit deeply moved me. I silently resolved to use my knowledge to help them realize their dreams. Just when I was fully devoted to my work, Jordan appeared in my life again. But this time, he didn't come to pester me, he came to enroll in the tutoring class. "Teacher Lin." He stood before me, his eyes somewhat complicated. "I want to sign up to learn English." I froze for a moment, never expecting him to show up here. "You're taking the college entrance exam?" I asked in confusion. "No, it's for work," Jordan explained. "The military district is selecting cadres to further their studies at military academies, and they need to pass an English exam." I nodded. That was indeed a reasonable reason. Then sign up like everyone else. I handed him a registration form. The tuition is 50 yuan. Jordan took the form and began filling it out carefully. I noticed his hand trembling slightly. Clearly, he was not calm inside. Teacher Lin. After finishing the form, he hesitated before saying, I can promise it won't interfere with your teaching. The implication was that he wouldn't use class time as an excuse to bother me. I know. I put away the form. As long as you study seriously, I will teach seriously. A trace of gratitude flashed in Jordan's eyes. He nodded and left. Watching his departing figure, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. To say I didn't care would be a lie. After all, we had 3 years of marriage. But that was all. I wouldn't change my stance because of that little bit of old affection. Chapter 11. The tutoring class officially began, and Jordan really did keep his promise. He listened attentively in class, and never came to talk to me afterward. He sat in the last row of the classroom, taking notes seriously, just like an ordinary student. If I hadn't known the inside story, I would never have guessed the relationship between us. This state lasted for a month until one day an unexpected incident happened. That day, I was teaching grammar when suddenly a student stood up and asked a question. Teacher, are you married? The question caught me off guard because it had nothing to do with the lesson. Why do you ask that? I countered. Because I think you're so outstanding, you must have a lot of admirers. The student looked a bit shy. I just want to know about your situation. The classroom instantly fell silent, and everyone's eyes turned toward me. I noticed Jordan's body stiffen, his eyes fixed intently on me. My personal situation has nothing to do with learning, I said calmly. Let's focus on the lesson. But teacher, if you're not married, I want to pursue you. The student gathered his courage to speak. As soon as he said this, the classroom erupted in good-natured laughter. I looked at him. He was a young man in his 20s, rather good-looking, a technician at a local factory. Sean, I'm several years older than you, I said with a smile. I don't care about age, Sean replied earnestly. I think you're the most charming woman I've ever met. His words were sincere, and I was a little moved. But I also noticed Jordan's face had turned ugly, his fists clenched tightly. Thank you for your kindness, I replied politely. But right now, I'm focused on my career and not considering personal matters. What about later? Sean asked, unwilling to give up. We'll talk about later when the time comes, I ended the topic. Now let's continue the lesson. After class, Sean came to me again, saying he wanted to invite me to dinner. I was about to refuse when Jordan suddenly walked over. Comrade Sean, Teacher Lin is very busy. Don't bother her, his tone was somewhat cold. Sean looked at Jordan in surprise. Comrade, what does this have to do with you? Jordan opened his mouth as if to say something but swallowed it back. Because in truth, he had no grounds to stop someone from pursuing me. It doesn't matter. I'm just making a suggestion, he said at last. Sean looked more puzzled but didn't press further. He invited me again, and I once more politely declined. Watching Sean leave in disappointment, Jordan's expression finally softened a little. Jasmine. He tried to talk to me. Comrade Jordan, do you have a question about the lesson? I deliberately used an official tone. Jordan gritted his teeth. No. Then I'll be going. I packed up my teaching materials and left the classroom. Behind me came the sound of Jordan's heavy sigh. I knew he was in pain, but it wasn't something I caused. If he had cherished our relationship back then, he wouldn't be so passive now. In the following days, Sean came every day to walk me home after work. Although I rejected his invitations, he remained patient. Teacher Lin, I know you don't know me well yet, he said sincerely. But I can wait until you're willing to give me a chance. This persistence touched me, but it also troubled me. Because I really had no intention of starting a relationship, at least not in the short term. And every time Jordan saw Sean coming to pick me up, his face turned dark. Once, he even lost focus in class. When I called on him to answer a question, he didn't hear me at all. Comrade Jordan, I raised my voice. He snapped awake and hurriedly stood up. Teacher, What did you say? The classroom erupted in light laughter. Everyone thought this military officer was acting oddly today. I asked you which tense the sentence is in. I repeated the question. Jordan looked at the sentence on the blackboard, stammering without an answer. Sit down. Come to my office after class, I said, a little angry. After class, Jordan came to my makeshift office. What was wrong with you today? I demanded. Not paying attention in class, disrupting the learning of others. Sorry. Jordan lowered his head. I've just been troubled lately. Even if you're troubled, you can't let it affect your learning, I said sternly. If you can't focus in class, then don't come. No, I'll focus, Jordan said urgently. Please give me another chance. Looking at his pleading face, I softened a little. All right, but this is the last time, I warned. If this happens again, I won't be so lenient. Thank you for your understanding, Jordan said gratefully. He turned to leave, then stopped and asked. Jasmine. Teacher Lin, may I ask you something? What is it? Do you really not hate me at all anymore? The question stunned me. Hate, I thought about it carefully and realized I truly didn't hate him anymore. Time is the best medicine, even the deepest wounds gradually heal. No, I don't hate you, I answered truthfully. But I don't love you either. Those words hurt Jordan more than hatred, because hatred at least meant there were still feelings. Not loving meant complete estrangement. I understand, he said softly. Thank you for your honesty. With that, he left, his back looking lonely. Watching him go, a wave of complex emotions surged in my heart. Perhaps this was best for both of us, at least we could face each other honestly. Chapter 12. The tutoring business grew better and better, and I opened another beginner's class. It was specifically for students with zero foundation. At the same time, progress was being made with the English textbook I had written. The editor was very interested in my material, thinking the content was innovative and the methods practical. Teacher Lin, if your textbook gets published, it will definitely be very popular, the editor said over the phone. When can it be published? I asked eagerly. The earliest would be next spring, since the printing factory is overloaded with tasks right now. I nodded. That timeline was acceptable. Next spring would coincide with the registration period for the college entrance exam, perfect timing. Besides the textbook, I also began considering opening more tutoring classes. Not just English, but also math, Chinese, physics, and other subjects. Of course, I couldn't possibly teach everything myself, so I needed to find suitable teachers. I started looking for candidates among the county's middle schools and soon found several good ones. Among them was a math teacher named Zhao Ming, who was not only highly capable but also had good character. Teacher Lin, your idea is excellent, Zhao Ming said with great interest after hearing my plan. Right now there really is a need for this kind of tutoring school. Would you be willing to cooperate? I asked. Of course, Zhao Ming nodded. But I have one condition. What condition? I hope we can share profits based on results rather than a fixed salary. That request was reasonable, and I agreed immediately. Before long, our tutoring school began to take shape. English, math, Chinese, and physics, 4 subjects, 6 teachers, 3 classes. Although the scale wasn't large, at the time it was already quite impressive. What pleased me the most was the enthusiasm of the students and their excellent progress. Among the first batch of students who took the college entrance exam, 80% were admitted to universities. This achievement caused a sensation in the county, and our tutoring school quickly became famous. Teacher Lin, you're amazing, one student who was admitted to a teacher's college said excitedly. Without your help, I could never have gotten into university. This is the result of your own hard work, I said modestly. I only provided some methods. No, your methods are really effective, another student added. We all want to thank you. Looking at these young people so excited, I felt a deep sense of accomplishment. The feeling of helping others change their fate was more satisfying than anything else. However, success also brought some unexpected problems. For example, the emergence of competitors. Other people in the county started running tutoring schools as well, and some deliberately slandered us. I heard that Teacher Lynn's private life is messy, that she's divorced. Yeah, how can such a woman possibly teach students well? These malicious rumors did have some impact on the judgment of certain parents. Several parents withdrew their children and sent them to other tutoring schools. I didn't care much about this, because I believed that true gold always shines. Strength speaks louder than anything else. Sure enough, after some time, those students returned. They realized that the teaching level at the other tutoring schools couldn't compare with ours. Teacher Lynn, we're sorry. We shouldn't have believed the rumors, one parent apologized sincerely. It's okay, choosing is your right, I replied generously. As long as the children can learn well, that's what matters. This incident strengthened my determination to keep running the school. No matter what difficulties I faced, I was going to carry this career forward. Because I knew it was not just a job, but a mission that could truly benefit society. Chapter 13. In the spring of 1978, my English textbook was officially published. Practical English course received an enthusiastic welcome as soon as it was released. In just 1 month, it had already gone through 3 printings. When the editor from the publishing house called to tell me the good news, I was in the middle of teaching a class. Teacher Lynn, your book has sold over 100,000 copies, the editor said excitedly. That's already considered a miracle for a supplementary textbook. After hanging up, I was overwhelmed with excitement. This not only meant financial income, but more importantly, it meant that my teaching philosophy was widely recognized. The royalties weren't a huge amount, but at that time it was already a considerable income for me. I decided to use this money to expand the tutoring school. I rented a small building next to the county cultural center, renovated it, and turned it into a proper campus. I also recruited more teachers and added more subjects. By the end of 1978, our tutoring school had more than 20 teachers and over 300 students. It had become a fairly well-known educational institution in the local area. During this time, Jordan continued studying in my English class. He was very diligent, never missed a lesson, and achieved good results. We maintained a teacher-student relationship with little personal interaction. Occasionally, when our eyes met, I could still see complex emotions in his gaze, but he never expressed them. I knew he was still waiting for the day I might change my mind. But I also knew very clearly that day would never come. Sean, on the other hand, persisted in pursuing me. Picking me up and dropping me off every day had already become a habit. Although I never agreed to be in a relationship with him, our connection had indeed grown closer than before. Teacher Lynn, what are your plans for this spring festival? Sean asked me. I haven't decided yet. Maybe I'll just rest at home, I replied. Would you like to spend it at my house? Sean asked tentatively. My mother really wants to meet you. This invitation left me a bit uneasy. Meeting the parents meant taking the relationship a step further, and I wasn't ready yet. Sean, I think we still need more time to get to know each other, I declined gently. Although disappointed, Sean nodded in understanding. I can wait, he said. I'll wait until you feel it's the right time. This patience and tolerance increased my fondness for him even more. Perhaps I really should consider giving myself a new beginning. During the spring festival, the school was on break, and I finally had some rare free time. I decided to return to my hometown to visit my aging parents. My parents were very satisfied with my current situation, believing I had found the right path for myself. Daughter, you're doing well now, my mother said. You have your own career, and your life is fulfilling. We are just a little worried about your personal matters, my father added. You're not young anymore, it's time to think about settling down. I already have someone in mind, I said with a smile. A good young man who treats me well. Hearing this, my parents were delighted, urging me to bring him home soon so they could meet him. I agreed, and in my heart, I truly began to consider the matter seriously. Perhaps it was indeed time to give myself a new start. After returning to the county, I invited Sean to dinner. Sean, I want to talk to you about our relationship, I said directly. Sean grew tense. Teacher Lynn, are you going to reject me? No, on the contrary. I smiled. I want to say that maybe we can try dating. Sean froze at first, then was so thrilled he almost jumped up. Really? You're willing to give me a chance? Yes, but I have one condition, I said seriously. We'll take things slowly, not rush into anything. Of course, Sean nodded repeatedly. Whatever you say. Looking at his excited face, a warmth rose in my heart. Perhaps this was the beginning of my new life. Chapter 14. After officially starting a relationship with Sean, my life went through some subtle changes. He would bring me a flower every day. Though it wasn't anything expensive, the thought behind it touched me deeply. On weekends, we would go to the movies together or take walks in the park. Sean was very considerate. He never forced anything and always went along with my wishes. Teacher Lin, are you tired? Do you want to take a break? He always asked with concern. It had been a long time since I felt this kind of care. Although it wasn't the passionate love I once had with Jordan, this quiet warmth was also very precious. Most importantly, Sean made me feel safe. I didn't have to worry about being betrayed by him. Of course, our relationship also drew some attention. Especially from Jordan, who looked even more silent than before. Once, during class, I accidentally saw him notice Sean and me holding hands as we walked past the window. His face turned very unpleasant. After class, he came to me on his own. Teacher Lin, I want to talk to you, he said formally. Is there a problem with your studies? I asked, pretending not to know. It's not about studies. Jordan gritted his teeth. It's about you and Sean. That's none of your concern, I said coldly. I know it's none of my concern, but I still want to say it. Jordan took a deep breath. Are you really sure about this? Sure about what? About being with him. Jordan's voice trembled a little. Do you really know him? That's not something you need to worry about. I was starting to get angry. Jordan, things between us are over. You have no right to interfere in my life. I'm not trying to interfere. Jordan paused. I just don't want to see you get hurt. Hurt? I gave a cold laugh. Do you think anything could hurt me more than what you did? Jordan's face turned pale at my words, but he still persisted. I know a little about Sean, Enough, I cut him off. No matter what kind of person he is still my choice. At least he won't betray me. I left after saying that, leaving Jordan standing there alone. In my heart, I knew very well why Jordan said those words. It wasn't that he truly cared about Sean's character, it was jealousy. He simply couldn't stand seeing me with someone else. But none of that mattered anymore. I didn't need him to guide my life. A few days later, something unexpected happened. Sean suddenly proposed marriage. Teacher Lin, we've been together for a while now. I think we're very suitable for each other, he said seriously. Will you marry me? The proposal came too suddenly, I was completely unprepared. Sean, we haven't known each other long enough. I tried to delay. But I'm already sure. I love you and want to spend my whole life with you. Sean's attitude was firm. Besides, you're not that young anymore. The longer we wait, the harder it will be. His words made me uncomfortable, but I patiently explained, feelings can't be rushed. We need more time to truly understand each other. How much more time? Sean asked. At least another 6 months, I said. Sean's expression darkened a little, but he still nodded in agreement. However, from then on, his attitude changed. The gentleness and patience he once had lessened, replaced by more impatience and pressure. Teacher Lin, when can we make things official? He kept asking. I think our relationship is fine as it is, I replied. But that's not what I want. Sean's tone was dissatisfied. I want a definite commitment. This change made me start to reassess our relationship. Perhaps we were truly lacking something. Perhaps this wasn't real love. Chapter 15. As spring was about to end, I made an important decision. I was going to move to the provincial capital to develop my career. The market in the county had already reached its limit, but the provincial capital held far greater opportunities. More importantly, I wanted to leave this place full of memories and start a new life in a completely fresh environment. When I told Sean about my decision, his reaction was intense. You're going to the provincial capital? Then what about us? He asked anxiously. We can keep in touch. If you're willing, you can even come with me, I said. But I have my job here, my family here. How can I just leave everything behind? Sean's tone carried resentment. Have you even considered my feelings? His words surprised me, because in the past he always said he was willing to do anything for me. I thought you would support my decision, I said calmly. Support is one thing, but you also need to be realistic, Sean said impatiently. We're not that young anymore. Why keep tossing things around? Isn't it better to just live a stable life here in the county? Hearing that, I suddenly understood something. Maybe what Sean liked wasn't truly me, but the status and career I had in the county. What he wanted was a steady life, a dutiful wife, not a woman with her own ambitions. It seems our goals are different, I said calmly. Maybe we're not suitable for each other. What do you mean? Sean froze. I mean we should break up, I said directly, speaking my true thoughts. We want different things. Forcing ourselves to stay together won't be good for either of us. Sean's face darkened. You're dumping me? No, it's not dumping. It's rational analysis, I explained. We really aren't compatible. Why not compatible? I treat you so well, what more do you want? Sean's tone grew sharp. What I want is understanding and support, not constraints, I said firmly. Our argument drew the attention of others, including Jordan, who was waiting for me after class. He saw us quarreling and after hesitating, walked over. Is there a problem? He asked. None of your business, Sean glared at him viciously. She's my teacher. It's normal for me to care, Jordan said calmly, but there was a warning in his eyes. And what are you to care about her? Sean lost control of his emotions. I heard you're the ex-husband who abandoned her. As soon as those words were spoken, the surroundings fell silent and the atmosphere grew tense. Jordan's face instantly darkened, his hands clenched into fists. Sean, stop it, I quickly tried to intervene. Why should I stop? Sean kept shouting. What right does he have to interfere in our matters? He's nothing but a coward who couldn't even protect his own wife. Those words completely enraged Jordan, and he punched Sean. Sean never expected him to strike. He stumbled back several steps from the blow. Enough, I shouted loudly. Stop it, both of you. The people around us rushed over to break it up, preventing the conflict from escalating further. Sean, clutching his face, glared at Jordan viciously. You'll pay for this, he spat out before storming off. Jordan tried to go after him, but I stopped him. Forget it. Don't make things worse, I said wearily. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have hit him, Jordan admitted with regret. But his words were too much. Let's just end it here, I waved my hand. I don't want anything like this happening again. The onlookers gradually dispersed, leaving only Jordan and me. Jasmine, are you all right? He asked with concern. I'm fine. I shook my head. But our relationship really is over. He doesn't deserve you, Jordan said suddenly. I glanced at him. That has nothing to do with you. I know it doesn't, but I still want to say it. Jordan looked deeply into my eyes. You deserve someone better. His words stirred something in me, but I quickly regained my composure. Thank you for your concern, but my life is none of your business. With that, I turned to leave. Behind me came Jordan's voice, Jasmine, I'll never give up. I didn't look back, but my heart was filled with complicated emotions. Perhaps moving to the provincial capital really was the right decision, only there could I completely say goodbye to the past and begin a new life. A month later, carrying all my savings and hopes for the future, I boarded the train to the provincial capital. Before I left, Jordan came to see me off. Take care, he said. You too. I nodded.